Sidmus Man is among Devon's 100 lockdown legends. How did you become one of Devon's 100 lockdown legends?
Is that what comes
That's
up
the
when you
quote,
Google me?
23rd of September 2020. "15 minutes, that's quite a long time for most guys. Tell me all about 15 minutes, Ashley Leeds. And also, I've got one other question before we start. Have you had to change your name by default? And was your name originally Sales?
Yeah, it was. Do you know? And I've been in sales for 32 years. And so if only my surname Leeds was spelt with an A, it would
Yeah.
just be brilliant, wouldn't it?
And I don't like football, but apparently Leeds have just been promoted as well.
I know. So yeah, look, I'm not a sports fan, but I do follow to see what they're doing, and it's been quite exciting because a couple of years ago they ended up in the playoffs and they didn't get through. But this season they have absolutely dominated the Championship League. I couldn't name a single Leeds player that's current. I can name the 1970s team, but yeah, no, I don't really follow it, and
Amazing.
I'm not passionate either.
Well, that's where we definitely have something in common, because I'm not a massive fan of football, but I'm definitely a massive fan of music. But Ashley, before we start, tell me, why 15 minutes?
Okay, so I'm known as the 15-minute guy. Okay, and this goes back quite a while now, actually, because what happens is we waste an awful lot of time having meetings. We jump onto our calendar, we see an appointment, we book it with Andy. The default is an hour, so we book an hour. We have a little chat about this, we have a little chat about that. Then we talk about what we're having the meeting for, and then we fill in the gap. And it's, I can't think of the law, but Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law says we fill the space that we've allotted. So what I started doing is, let's have a 15-minute meeting, Andy. All right. And do you know how many people jumped on my 15-minute Zoom meeting to have a little chat with me about LinkedIn? How many of them turned around and said, "Oh, I think that's disgusting. You're only giving me 15 minutes."
Wow. None of them, I bet.
None of them. Absolutely none of them.
None of them.
Because they can see that I'm respecting my time, but I'm also respecting their time.
Yeah.
And we get so much more done. And you know, invariably, you get into an amazing conversation and they'll go, "Look, I know I've only got a minute left." Well, I can overrun, or we can book something else next time. It really doesn't matter. So I started doing everything in 15 minutes, 15-minute meetings. And then I started teaching people how to do LinkedIn. So when I started my business, I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to work with certain people and help them grow their business and all that sort of wonderful stuff. And then I was reminded that I signed an anti-compete clause. So my brand new business where I was going to coach people, I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I went into LinkedIn, and it is the best thing that I ever did. So thank you very much, old boss, for making me stick to my anti-compete clause, because now I'm a LinkedIn expert. I help people with LinkedIn. I've written a book. I speak on stage, which is where we met. And I am having the best life ever. So I started this training course. And when you turn around to somebody and say, "Right, you need to do LinkedIn," and they go, "Oh, I've tried it. I've done an hour and I didn't get anywhere." And it's like, well, yeah, what have you done for that hour? I've wasted some time here. I've gone down a rabbit hole there. And it's sort of like, well, go in with purpose. And so I designed this workshop where you come in on a Monday and we do 15 minutes at 8:30. All right. So 8:45. So by 9 o'clock, you already know what you got to do for the day, and you're set up. And I give you a bit of homework, and then the next day we come back to the next bit. And so over a period of a week, we do 15 minutes every day. And right at the beginning of the workshop, I say, block out 15 minutes a day for this week, but then block it out for the rest of your life. And so if you come in every single morning at 8:45 and do your 15 minutes, by the end of a year, that's 65 hours of free marketing.
65 hours?
Yes.
But you say 15 minutes, you're like, that's not very long, is it? But 65 hours, now that's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're a bass player. You didn't just pick the bass up and be able to play it. You've had to learn, and you've had to do 50 minutes here, 20 minutes there, an hour there, and what have you.
I think Bert Whedon was the original guitar teacher that I
Oh my goodness, really? Yeah.
And it was 30. I think it was 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I remember. I mean, he was very old school, but it was like a 30-minute slot.
Yeah.
And then
And basically everything that I've done in life has been just keep repeating, keep repeating. Beginning of this year, right? I purchased them the day before. I purchased some running shoes. And on the 1st of January, I did my first ever run.
Wow.
I did couch to 5K. And that very first day, I had Sarah Millican helping me.
Oh,
And
that's kind of
so,
her.
well, so it's all in an app, right? And so she turns around and says, "Well, you've got to go a little run today, and we're only going to run for 90 seconds. You've got this." And so I do a little run, and then I do a little walk, and then I do a little run and do a little walk, and then I did that for a week, and then the following week I did a little bit more. Now I'm a runner, all because of this, just a little bit each day on this app.
I don't like running. I've never liked running, right? But the fact that Sarah Millican could come with me on a run, that just sounds brilliant.
Okay, look, do it. Just do it, because I don't know about you, but I'm walking down the street. I love walking. I walk a lot.
Same.
I'm walking down the street, walking down the seafront here in Sidmouth, and I see all these runners sweaty, and I'm thinking, you're an idiot. You're mad. You're crazy. And they're covered in sweat and they're huffing and puffing. And so anyway, because of this habit thing, because of what I teach, because of the 15 minutes, because of the consistency, I keep saying to people when they come on the course at the beginning of the week, it's a bit like the couch to 5K. But I don't know, because I've never done the couch to 5K. I've got an idea.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I did it specifically to see how it works. And now I'm a runner, and it's my birthday next week, and my daughter is buying me one
Your
of.
birthday is the 3rd of May, right?
It might be. My daughter's buying me one of those things that strap on my arm, so I can have my phone as I run, like a proper runner. Can you believe that?
Oh my God. I don't want to sound like a creep, but I just want to rectify that when we first met, we were talking about our birthdays were coming up, and our birthdays are one day apart. So,
Absolutely.
um, actually, I want to touch on that actually, because we met at, I'm going to say the wrong name now. It was BizFest Southwest. That's the name of the event, wasn't it?
The original name is Business Fest Southwest. I call
Right.
it Buzzfest because it was such a buzz. But yeah, that's the place we met, and it was a busy old day. And you allowed me to eat my lunch while I was chatting to you. We popped outside and got a bit of fresh air. It was lovely.
That's where I was gonna go to. So when I first looked at, you go to an event and then look at the people now, you look at who you want to go and look at and check. And I wanted to go and check out Emma with the Wealth Rebel. And I thought, right, okay. Weirdly, Emma and I have been connected for a little while on social media. And I thought, you know what? We lived literally like half an hour, down the road from each other. And I'm like, I bumped into her over Christmas and went, oh my God, that's Emma. But like, we never spoke because it was like Christmas mayhem. And so I wanted to have a proper catch up with her. And I've got this idea. I've never met this guy, Ashley Leeds, but I read the little bio and I thought, this guy looks pretty exciting. Now, I actually gave them some feedback on the event. And part of my feedback was there wasn't enough headphones, or maybe next time just don't have the headphones on the main stage, because I just think the main stage is and it was really welcomed. And what I love about that event is they really welcomed everyone's feedback, and it was great. And I'm looking forward to next year. And I've been to many other business events over the years, and that one just had, like you said, it just had a real good buzz about it.
Did have
Anyway,
a buzz.
so I got there and I was a bit like, now I'm a bass player, as you've said, bit harder hearing, and I'm pretty good at lip reading, but I couldn't work out what you were saying because everyone had the headphone on. So I thought, okay, cool. I'll go and find this stand. So I walked around. Now I'm a bit impatient at the best of times, even though I'm British. It's a bloody queue. Great. You're sitting down with someone. So I walked around. Weirdly, then our mutual friend Jayanne was there, and I chatted with her for a bit, and I ended up being on a video with her. And then I came back. Bloody Ashley Leeds guy, who bloody hell is he? He's busy again. And I thought, you know what? And as I left, I went to go and say goodbye to some people that I knew, and I thought it was, getting sort of like 1-2 o'clock-ish time. And I thought, right, I'm going to give it one more go. And I got there, and I believe you were there was it with your daughter?
Yeah.
And I just was like chatting away with you, and I thought, literally, within about 3 seconds, it felt like we were talking about music. And I thought, right, there was a split second where I thought, oh, this guy's not interested. But I like for a split second because I thought, oh, he's got like his 3 minutes of like freedom. He doesn't want to talk to me. And then we was just chatting and chatting and chatting, and you asked me what I did, and then you held your lunch and you went, "Do you want to come with me and we can just chat?" And we went out and chatted. We sat out in the sun, and the one question that kept going over and over in my mind on the way back was, "What would I have done if I hadn't have chatted to Ashley that day?" Because you had a positive impact on my holiday. Now,
Wow.
the reason you had a positive impact on my holiday, and this is going to have nothing to do with what you do for a job. This is going to have nothing to do with, the event, but it had to something to do with lunch. And what happened was that we just came back from Spain last week, and we went all inclusive. And each day we got various different theme nights, and one of the nights was Chinese night. And while I was driving home from chatting to you, I thought, I wish I'd asked him why he's eating with chopsticks. Because that's not natural to see someone eating with chopsticks, especially in the UK. So when we went on holiday and it was Chinese night, I made sure we all ate with chopsticks and we all tried it. And my daughter, who is 13, she went, "Dad, this is really hard." And she went, I said, "Well, if it's too hard, she went, "No, I really want to do it." So we had a really lovely experience based on you eating chopsticks, because I thought, you know what? This guy was just sat there eating chopsticks like an absolute boss. And I remember thinking, that looks really hard to eat. And yeah. So, yeah. So what I loved about it, and the reason I wanted to kind of touch on this was, um, I wanted to ask you this was, you talk about the 15 minutes, but I didn't give up with finding out about Ashley Leeds, because there was something about you in that bio that made me go, I want to know more about this guy. And fast forward with we're 3 weeks ago now from that event.
I
Uh,
know.
and I'm like, is there something for you that in your life that you've gone, do you know what? I'm not letting it go. I'm going to go for this. I want to go and find out more about either this person or this opportunity. And I know you touched on 5K, but is there something for you that's then had that knock-on effect that actually it was such a small thing, but that moment for me, and whether we never speak again after this day, I will always have a memory of we tried chopsticks because this guy and the chopsticks outside, West Point Arena. So is there a time in your life where something you've kind of gone for, but then it's had like a long-term effect? Is there something in your life that's kind of happened like that?
That's incredible. That is incredible. It's got me thinking. It's got me thinking. Um, I'm curious. I like asking questions.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, it's the
when I,
first two letters of your first name. I'm not surprised.
yeah,
AS.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. God, that was very quick. Um, I went to college in Cornwall. Learned to be a chef, and I had a great lecturer, a guy called Robbie Aubrey. And he was brilliant. Had a good relationship with him. He was positive and encouraged me to do all kinds of amazing stuff. And I was one of only a few people that went and got themselves a job in London as a chef after we finished, after we graduated. A lot of people gave up. A lot of people went and worked in local hotels. A few people went and worked for the family hotel and stuff like that. But there was a handful of us that went up to London. It literally was a handful. And he turned around to me because I was at college. All right, I was doing all right in the class. I was I passed all the exams and stuff like that. And when something needed doing, oh, Ash can do it and stuff like that. And so you're a really big fish in a really tiny pond, aren't you? All right. And he didn't want me to be too big for my boots when I went up to London, because he knew that I would get kicked around the kitchen if that was the case. Okay. And he pulled me to one side and he said, "Look, when you go up to London, I know you've got all the exams. I know you've passed this. I know you've done this. And I know you've done an amazing job, etc., etc. But just think when you go into the kitchen that you know nothing and just ask."
Amazing.
And I think that's how I got on in life, because people, no one's going to turn around and not answer your question.
Yeah.
All right. And if you don't believe me, if you're listening on the podcast now, pull your car over, wind the window down and ask a random stranger, "Excuse me, where's the nearest XYZ?" And most people will turn around and go, oh yeah, and it's up here, and then you turn this way, and then you turn that way, and people really want to help. So when the chef turned around to me and said, oh, you need to go and do this, or you need to go and do that, right, okay, can you just explain exactly what I need to do? Oh yeah, you do this, you do this, you do this. And so, yeah, I've always been curious. And I think that was the pivotal moment that I can remember. But I'm sure, talking to older relatives when I was a kid, and always asking questions. I've always asked questions. I ask questions now, and that's why I love ChatGPT, because I am always asking ChatGPT stuff. And so
Amazing.
I don't think I've ever stopped learning.
Yeah, I love that. When you say about asking questions, it's something that I remember, the kind of almost, if you don't know the answer, kind of keep your mouth shut kind of thing. Like, whereas actually it's better to ask those questions, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
so valuable because I can think of so many occasions where I've just been like, oh my God, I don't know. And as a kid, I didn't particularly enjoy school. And actually, if I'd probably have asked a few more questions here, there, I might actually have got some answers. I mean, the classic is I didn't like history at school. Actually, if I'd have asked a few more questions about what happened and why it happened and certain things, I remember going to Berlin about 10 years ago, and I wish I was saying, "Oh my God, I wish I'd listened. I wish I'd asked more because there was so much more I could have learned."
It's
Um,
funny, isn't it? I love history as well now. But when I was at school, oh my God, maybe it's something to do with the history teachers, because
Maybe.
our history teacher, oh my goodness, the lessons were so boring. Whereas our French teacher, he was amazing, and I used to speak fluent French
Oh, wow.
because he was so much fun. I used to look forward to his lessons.
My history teacher used to have one of these big chalkboards that rolled. And she would just scribe for like an hour. And then we would, if you hadn't finished writing down what she'd written on the board, you'd have to stay behind. And I didn't feel like I learned anything. I just felt like my hand hurt at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is why my old coach used to do a technique called the hot pen technique. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. So
No.
it's 12 months from now. I'm just meeting Ashley for coffee, and I'm so excited to tell him that. And you don't leave the pen, does not leave the paper for 20 minutes.
Okay.
And you just write. And at the end of it, you look at it and go, oh my God, I didn't know that I wanted to talk on stage, or I didn't know that I wanted to start the Couch to 5K. And it's just the stuff that comes out. And so, yeah. Which is why probably when I've done that in the past, I'm like, oh my God, this brings back horrible memories of
Yeah.
writing down. So, Ashley, your book is called 101 Ideas for LinkedIn. But before we get there, I thought I'd Google you before we started. And it turns out I've got to get the exact, I've actually put this up on my other screen so I can see exactly what it says. But you are, Sidmouth's man is among Devon's 100 lockdown legends. How
So
did you become one of Devon's 100 lockdown legends?
is that what comes
That's
up
the
when you
quote,
Google me?
23rd of September, 2020.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
And ironically, there's a picture of you holding that guitar behind you.
Yeah. I know the picture. I know the picture you mean. So I don't know if you remember the 24th of March, 2020.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, it's a case.
It was the very first day that we were locked down. And I've already alluded that I love walking. And so I'm averaging this year about 13,500 steps a day.
Wow,
Okay.
amazing.
My daughter the other day, she said, yeah, but you cheated, Dad. I said, what do you mean? You went for a run.
My wife normally says you cheated. You played bass for an hour, and my watch is obviously set.
So when I do a gig, I can do 6,000 steps in an evening.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not playing guitar. That's running around the stage like an idiot. But hey, that's another story. So I went for a walk first thing in the morning. All right, got up really early. Went for a long walk. Did my 10,000 steps, all in an hour, Your Honor. And at lunchtime, what am I going to do? Because a lot of people I know sit at their desk and work while they're having their lunch, and I've never done that. Never, ever, 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 ever. And that's one of the rules I made when I set up my business. So I am. It's blocked out one till 2. You cannot have an appointment with me 1 till 2. And so,
But you can have lunch with you on the steps at Westport now.
Absolutely,
Okay, cool.
absolutely. But at the beginning of lockdown, I was employed.
Oh, right, okay.
And So again, I had my hour lunch, and what am I going to do? And I thought, oh no, it's 3 weeks, isn't it? We're going to be locked down for 3 weeks. We're just going to be not allowed to go out for 3 weeks. So what I'll do is I'll do a little gig on my Facebook page and see if I can get a few more followers to the name that I go out as is Just Dandy. And so I'll do a little gig on my Just Dandy page on Facebook and see what happens.
Mhm.
And I am overlooked. Our back garden is overlooked by some retirement flats.
Right.
Okay. It was beautiful weather. There's a couple of other gardens near us. And I turned on my camera and on my phone, and I found Facebook. I put a t-shirt on over the top of my jumper so that people knew it was me. And I just sat down and didn't know what I was doing. And I played the guitar and I sang. And I finished a song, and a few people clapped, and then the people up in the flats clapped. And then so, you know, and there was people commenting and what have you. And I did the first gig. In fact, I think after one song, the phone rang and I had to answer the phone because it was one of my clients. And then I came back to it and carried on. And then I did it the next day. And the thing is, if you turn around to someone to do some video, the first thing they say is, I haven't really got a decent enough camera, and the lighting's not very good, and I haven't got a very good microphone, and the guitar needs tuning, or I haven't got this, and I haven't got excuses. If you'd have said to me before I did that first session on the guitar that you were in 4 years' time, you'll be on Andy's podcast as a guest, all right? He'd have met you at the biggest thing since sliced bread in Devon, and you would have been the keynote speaker. You would have gone to Canada to do a talk, so you'll be a well-known public speaker. You'd have written a book. You'd be running your own business. If you'd have told me that, if you'd have turned around to me and say, Ash, if you play the guitar at lunchtime today, this is all going to happen, I would have just laughed at you, absolutely laughed at you. But what happened was I did it the next day. Okay, and a few people commented, and so I did it the next day, and the people in the flats were coming out and watching, and I did it the next day, and I did it the next day, and I did it the next day, and we had 21 days, 3 weeks, all right, but it carried on. And because I'd got into this, and because I was doing it every single day, I thought, right, let's keep it going, and I did it for 100 days.
Wow.
100 days consecutively. And so what happened is that the Lockdown Legends was a thing that the local museum did, and they put on this exhibition. And they got people to nominate people that had done something a little bit different during COVID. Okay.
Wow.
So the guy that project managed the Nightingale Hospital in Exeter, he was one of the Lockdown Legends.
Wow.
The lady that sewed a loads of masks and raised money for charity, she was one of the Lockdown Legends. The guy that drove stupid lots of hours driving to deliver meals to people that didn't have anything, he was a Lockdown Legend.
Wow.
And this guy here, for entertaining the people in the retirement flats and just going for it, was noted as a Lockdown Legend. And that photo is down in my collection of newspapers. There it is.
Ah, amazing. Amazing.
So yeah, it is. It was pretty cool. And it's just basically,
I love that.
lockdown did change my life.
So,
Or because I did one gig with my guitar.
what was the first song you played?
It was James Arthur. Was it James Arthur? No, the other guy. Oh, I Someone You Loved.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? What's his name?
Someone you loved.
Lewis Capaldi.
Yeah.
Lewis Capaldi. That's what I played.
Wow.
That's what I played.
Amazing. You just talked about something. When I was younger, I was always used to work on the principle that 21, you do something 21 days to force a habit. And you just said that key number for me there. It's 21. What's a habit that you've got that you wish you didn't have? Have you got a bad habit?
That's a good question. I've started doing that with my teeth. I don't know why.
Oh, really?
So-
Wow. I didn't like my teeth. They did it together in the front, but yeah. Wow.
So yeah, and every time I do it, I got to stop this. I got to stop this. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So that lockdown then was a massive pivotal point for you. Um, would you do you think anything would be different if you hadn't have done that jumped on that live video call or that live gig?
I haven't actually stopped to think about it, but I've always been employed.
Mhm.
Always, always, always. When as a kid before I went to college, I used to work at I worked at my uncle's hotel.
Mhm.
My granny had the hotel before, so I've always been around that sort of thing. When I was little, I used to put the cherries on top of the trifle for me, gran, when
Oh,
she was.
wow.
But yeah, I'd have been knee high to a grasshopper. Um, so that's always interested me, which is why I ended up being a chef. But I've always worked, and maybe as a chef at one point we thought, oh, we'll get our own hotel, restaurant, whatever. But I then went into sales because we wanted to have a family. You didn't earn any money as a chef back then.
Mhm.
And my wife was also a chef. So I went into sales and I've just sold stuff. And
Wow.
and as a sales guy, you can't really have your own business because you've got nothing to sell. So I've never really thought that I would ever be my own boss, have my own business, be an entrepreneur, all those sorts of things.
Mhm.
It was never going to happen to me.
Yeah.
But doing that guitar thing for 100 consecutive days. And I carried on. So after that, I did it 3 times a week. And then after that, I did it twice a week. And I ended up doing about 400 gigs. So on my Facebook page, Just Dandy, there's 400 odd gigs there
Wow.
that you could go back and watch. And hopefully you'll see an improvement from the first one to the last one. But the bottom line is I now know an awful lot of songs.
Yeah.
And so I'm much, much, much more confident on guitar and I guess confident in the front of the camera and all those sorts of things. But that led on to me doing a little bit of fundraising. So a friend of mine, his little kiddie, had cancer. She's,
Wow.
she's she's absolutely fine now. And
Oh,
a friend of his did a run for charity. We already discussed. I was never a runner until 2025. I was not a runner. In fact, until March 2025, I wasn't a runner. But back then I wasn't a runner, and this guy raised some money for the charity, Young Lives versus Cancer. Great charity,
Mhm.
helps these people that like their world has just been blown apart.
Yeah.
And I just in the back of my mind is like, what could I do? What could I do? What could I do? And at the time, I was doing an open mic. I used to run it at a local pub, and then obviously lockdown, I ended up doing it on Zoom.
Oh,
And
wow.
so every single Thursday, we did an hour on Zoom. Everyone came in and we did a little, we all played a song and had a little natter. And for some people, that was the only human contact they had
Yeah.
in the week.
Yeah.
So it was a valuable thing and it was lovely and I look forward to it. And then at the end of we were getting close to a year of doing this because we'd gone into lockdown, come out of lockdown, and da 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 da. And we didn't bring the open mic back because who wants to sing into a microphone after someone else has sung into a
Yeah.
microphone? And oh my God. And it was ridiculous, all the restrictions and stuff like that. And some of the members didn't want to leave their bubble. And so I
No.
kept doing it. I kept doing these open mics in Zoom. And then we went back into lockdown at the beginning of the year. And I turned around to the gang and I said, I want to raise some money for Young Lives versus Cancer. And how does what do you guys think that we can be doing? And someone said, "Oh, why don't we do 2 hours and stuff like that?" And no, I said to celebration. And so then I turned around and said, "How about a 24-hour fundraiser?"
Wow.
Open mic for 24 hours. Let's do that
Was that what, online?
on Zoom. Did
Oh,
you know that you
wow.
could? Did you know that you could do Zoom for 24 hours?
No. That's amazing.
So I had this guy, one of the gang, turned around, um, dated the 13th of February, 2021. Many thanks for all the hard work you do in assembling us for the weekly open mic. It's a great resource, which I'm really enjoying taking part in. Personally, I think a 24-hour session, whilst it sounds like a good idea and would generate a lot of interest, would be difficult to run and find enough contributors, particularly in the middle of the night. Perhaps something more limited like a 3 or a 6-hour session on Saturday would be more doable and have the same impact. Of course, it could still be used as a focus for charitable giving, which I'd be happy to join in with. Hope this is helpful. Please to discuss further naturally. Cheers, John. I've changed his name. And so I'm like, oh. And you something like that. There's two things you can do there, isn't there, Andy?
I mean, I literally all I can see is the fact that you've got red and yellow, and that's the colors of fire, and that just fueled your energy to go. No, we're doing that.
We're going to jolly well do it, and we jolly well did, jolly well did, right? And so, have I got time to tell you about this?
Of course you have.
So, I was thinking, right, okay, so if we do 24 hours, I speak to my gang, and there's about 24 people. I could like, hey, Andy, could you come and play for an hour, and could you play? And each person try and raise 100 quid. We get about 2.5 grand, which is serious money, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I was chatting to Steph from Young Lives versus Cancer, and she was saying about, well, if you hang the what you're raising for onto something, so like a machine or whatever, then that will give people a reason to give. And so my friend, he was staying at Sam's house, which is like a hotel sort of thing that is funded by the charity, so that people can stay up in Bristol, so they don't have to travel back, so they can go and see their kids. They've got somewhere safe to go.
We used Ronald McDonald when my daughter was in hospital, so similar kind of concept.
Yeah, absolutely. So it costs the charity 33 quid a night to run this Sam's house. And so I thought, let's do 6 months. So that's £6,022 that we need to raise. So I put that as the target. And then I'm thinking, well, if I have 24 people, that's going to be harder to get that much money. Why don't I do, you'll like this, 15-minute slots?
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Quickly do the maths, Andy. That's 96 musicians I need to find.
I was just about to say, that's more than I have to organise sometimes when I'm in a 3 or a 4 piece, and they're a bloody nightmare to organise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I had to organise 96 musicians to come onto this Zoom in 3 weeks, because I wanted to do it on the anniversary of when we started the open mics.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went on LinkedIn, I got other people involved. Because I'd been doing some other stuff during COVID, I had a few friends and I called in some favors. So Richie designed a web page for me on his website somehow. So we had a Lily's Live Lounge page. People could go in. I created a Just Giving page. A couple of people that were into marketing, they helped me do a few things. I had a few people help me with doing the Zoom. And so the whole idea was, because I run the open mic with a guy called Ian. And there's a couple of other people, Ian and Andy, they would have also have helped. And I was thinking, right, well, I'll do the Zoom, I'll set it up, transfer it, and then I can go to bed and then someone else can do it. And my daughter was horrified. She said, Dad, it's the daughter that you met, you can't do that. You have to do 24 hours. Well, we're a similar age, Andy, and I don't know about you, but last night on the sofa watching the TV with my wife, at about 8:30, I was doing this. So dropping off on the sofa, and it's like, shall we go to bed? So there's no way that I could do 24 hours. But my daughter said it has to be a challenge for you, because, you know, your friend's been through this challenge. You need to go through the challenge as well. You have to do 24 hours. Like, okay, I'll do it. And my family were incredible. They got me sweets and treats at every hour. I opened this and did that, and they sent me little motivational cards and stuff like that. I'm going to well up now because it was just brilliant.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm chatting to Steph, and it's this Friday coming, right? And I'm still working, so I'm trying to do all this around my job. I've set all the Zoom up. I've set up Calendly so people can book 15-minute slots, and so it all went into a spreadsheet. It was incredible, and I worked it all out myself. Right? And so we came to the day, and so the night before I was up at 10:30 messaging somebody because they'd heard about it and they wanted to get involved as well.
Oh, wow.
And so by this time, people were sort of like, "Oh, can I get involved?" Yes, you can have the 3:30 slot if you want it. And I did have a chunk of time in the middle where I didn't have any musicians. I had a couple of people from America. I had somebody from Italy. I had a few different nationalities joining us as well. But I had this slot in the middle, and the gang turned around and said, well, what can we do? And I said, it'd be great if you could come and play at 3 o'clock in the morning or something. And with that, 4 or 5 of them said, we'll be there. We'll be there. And have you ever done a lock-in in a pub, where the landlord locks the door and you stay there?
Might have done.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what it was like.
Oh,
It
wow.
was like that. And we were all sort of like, sure, go now. And they played a couple of songs. And then we had a little chat, and then we played a couple of little songs. And this is all on a YouTube channel. Okay, so you can go and watch all of this 24 hours.
Oh, amazing.
So what I did is I broke it down into hour-long segments. A company called Pushed, they did all the videos for me for free. They just did it.
That's amazing.
And so I then woke up really early because I was excited and nervous and what have you. Did a full day's work, and then we went live at 4 p.m. on the Friday afternoon. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So we do the first hour, and a few people come on, and we're doing this, and then I've got the Zoom. All right, it's going live on YouTube as well. Did you know you could do a 24-hour live stream on YouTube? You can. And so
this is like lessons with Leeds today.
Yeah, it is. So we're doing this, and I've got my 2 screens here, and I've got my spreadsheet, so I know that I've got Andy coming up next, and I'm in the Zoom, and I can see all these people in the Zoom. I've pinpointed Dave because Dave's playing now, and then Sally's next. So I'm messaging Sally in the Zoom so she knows she's next. And I was like, Dave, this is your last song then, mate. Thank you very much. And we got Sally coming in. I'm doing all this. Meanwhile, where's Andrew? He's on after. And oh
my God.
So all of this, you can see my energy. I was like that for 24 hours. I did not have a moment where I thought, I'm going to just lie down on the floor now and die.
I feel tired. Yeah.
No, I was buzzing the whole time.
Did you do a set yourself?
Yes, I did. I did.
Amazing.
Yeah, I did. Right at the very end, I did a song, I think. I can't remember. I'm sure I did. I must have done.
You know my burning question now, though, don't you?
Go on.
What was the grand total?
Well, so that week, we were getting close to the 6,022 target. And Steph messaged me, and she said, are you going to change the total? And I said, well, yeah, I was thinking the same. Because the thing is, right, you go on and they're raising £6,022 and they've already got 6,000. You're not going to give much, are you?
Well, it's like the 15 minutes. If you book the hour, like you said earlier on, you're only going to go to the hour, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
So she said, why don't you change it to 10 grand? I said, no. Let's change it to a year. So it's £12,044. Let's raise that much money. So I went from like 95% right down. I'm like, ugh. And so we started on Friday.
You went from £100 an hour to 12,000. What did you go to? Were you planning to go to?
12,044.
Wow, that makes me feel nervous.
Yeah, I was nervous as well. So we did the live show. Remember Mike Reed from Radio 1?
Yep.
He came on and he did the penultimate set. So I had Mike Reed in there, and I was chatting to him, and he played us a couple of songs. And then then my friend came on, and he did 3 songs, and he played a song that he wrote for his wife when he first met her. He played a song for his first daughter when she was. I'm going to go again. He played a song for his eldest daughter when she was born, and then he played the song that he'd literally just written, all about taking the place of his daughter because of her illness.
Oh.
And he played that song, and we were all absolutely in bits. You could see everybody on the
This
Zoom.
is the second podcast I've done when my eyes are streaming. Thanks, Ashley.
Sorry. And so it was incredible. And we finished that show, and we'd hit about £8,000 by 4 o'clock on Saturday. I left the shed. I went for a walk. I walked down to town and bumped into a friend of mine, and he started chatting to me, and I was like a zombie. I said, look, I'm really, really sorry. I haven't been to bed, and I explained what I'd done. So Kate came home. We had some dinner, and I was still buzzing, but I then lost it and just crashed and went to bed. Got up the next morning, and we were on BBC Radio Devon because they'd been following this story, and we had a chat. And so me and my friend, we came on, and we were saying how much we were raising. Off the back of that, Spotlight, BBC TV got hold of it. they then messaged me, and they did an interview in here. They interviewed my friend. That on the Wednesday, that the little girl was getting she rang the bell to say that she was cancer free, or finished her remission, or finished the chemo, whatever you ring the bell for. And so on the Wednesday, Spotlight TV did a little bit of news first. They do a morning news show, so a little bit of news, and they raised a little bit of money, and then at lunchtime they showed the video of her ringing the bell. And bearing in mind everyone had masks on, and they didn't have a cameraman there. They had to use a mobile phone. And then in the evening, it was the main. It was going to be on the main show, that the big show that's on 6:30 to 7 on a weekday night. The regional news program, and we're all gathered round, waiting for it to come on. And it's not on yet. It's not on yet. And it was the end story. Sorry.
Wow.
It was the end story. And by this time, I was 1,800 quid away from the target. Okay, from the 1244.
Yeah.
And we got to the end of the show, and we saw my friend, we saw me, we saw the little girl ringing the bell in the newsreader. We thought, oh, what a lovely story. And then it ended. And I was using Just Giving, and I had the notification turned on. Literally. 7 o'clock. Got a notification. Sorry.
No, mate. This is something that I absolutely love, because you can tell you are so passionate about what you were doing, and this is why I absolutely resonated with you when we first talked, because I was just like, this guy's, there's something in this guy. Yeah, carry on. Tell me.
So a notification was somebody had just donated 1,800 quid.
Oh, wow.
An anonymous donation.
Wow.
Don't even know who that person is to this day.
Wow.
Made us hit our target. And I came in here. I went live on the channel that I'd been broadcasting on the Lily's Live Lounge, and I waited for people to come on, and then they told them the news, and we hit our target.
That's incredible.
And the money came in a little bit more after that, and then we added on the tax. What's the tax that you gift aid?
Gift aid, yeah.
Yeah, £16,000 we raised.
Wow. And you wanted to raise potentially, see if we can raise £100 an hour at the start.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. That's like, from a parent who has experienced being in those situations where my daughter had pneumonia and she got rushed to Southampton. We were blessed with the Ronald McDonald, but from someone who had the benefit of experiencing that, what that does for a parent, and what that charity does for parents in Bristol. It was Bristol, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't actually describe what that feels like to know. You nearly got me then, you bastard. To know that you've got somewhere to go back to at the end of the day, because just having that time to put aside with your partner, or even yourself, to just deconstruct. And now let's rewind even further back. My sister unfortunately passed away when she was 5.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Before I was born, I never got to meet her. But I remember stories that my mum told me, that she had to stay with her parents. And I always remember this very, very, my mum always goes, yeah, there was a point where she's been staying with her, so my sister was in Great Ormond Street, and my mum had been travelling backwards and forwards from Great Ormond Street. My mum and dad lived in Devon. I think they were in Devon at the time. So there was a lot of commuting. And I remember my mum saying to me that her mum and dad, this will tell you the generation difference, had said to her, if you're going to be staying with us for a little while, would you be able to contribute to a bit of rent? And, as a parent, I know you're a parent yourself, that whole experience for me and my wife was like a comfort from home. I still to this day have that image of a whole place was kitted out by IKEA. and it was like walking into an IKEA showroom. But you know what? Everything, there was tea, there was coffee, everything you would need was there. So as a parent who's experienced that kind of scenario, thank you, because I think that's incredible what you did, and the difference what you've done in that event is the difference between a parent stressing out and, we all know what it's like when our kids don't have the right homework or the pound, as we were talking about with Jenny Green last week. When your child's unwell, you just can't put that into context. And
No.
that home from home with that charity offers, but you got to do it with music. How cool is that?
It was very cool. It was
I
very cool.
absolutely love that. So where did you get to this 100, from the 100 legend to the 101 content ideas? Because we've got to bring that up, because I go on LinkedIn on a daily basis, and I struggle sometimes with content ideas. How did you get to that point of creating that?
I'll come to that, but I had an email back from this guy, John.
Oh, no way.
On
John.
on the 13th of March. Just a line to thank you for Lily's Live Lounge and to add to the countless to add to the countless messages you've no doubt received. And that's the thing. I had so many messages. So many messages. Oh my God, Ash, this is brilliant. Oh,
And
you're
this
amazing.
is 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 years ago. And so many people, you touched me, or this meant so much to me. When I was outside walking on the seafront, and someone came up to me and said, thank you for doing that. It got me back into music. And it was incredible. It was really uplifting experience to take part in and to share with so many other musicians in contributing to the event. You and your team deserve all our thanks for putting on something which caught so many people's imagination and helped to do something good. You might have, very wisely, forgotten that I had my doubts about how a 24-hour session would go. See below, which only goes to show how wrong I was. Well done indeed. All the best, John. And I picked up the phone and had a chat with him. Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's, what's funny is because it's the song by Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah.
That, I don't know why, that title of that song is just something that kind of feels like that's almost like I don't know whether that's your mantra that you didn't know, but it feels like you're like, nope, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this.
We can.
Yeah.
And so after that, I just thought, because at the time I'd had enough of my boss.
Yeah.
I really had enough. I enjoyed the clients, I enjoyed the work, but there was just too many arguments, and it was just hard work. And I thought, if I can do this, I can do anything. So I can get myself another job. So I handed my notice in.
Wow.
I just handed my notice in. I had nowhere to go. And I just thought, just get myself another job. And my wife turned around. She said, you're not having another job, Ash. You've had 30 jobs. I think you should run your own business. You've just done that. You're good at coaching people. Start coaching. Set yourself up. If we don't make any money in the first year or two, hey, who cares? You've got to do this. And so yeah, that's how it was. All because of me starting playing guitar at the beginning of lockdown.
You know what? I talked about this with Marcus Jones, who's the alcohol-free guy, a couple of weeks back, and we talked about your partner believing in you and that having that knock-on effect for you believing in yourself. And my partner has been a rock for my journey as a coach, but my journey as a photographer and a videographer, 18 years ago. And I think that's something that it sounds like you have that community spirit from your family, your friends. I love that. I love that. So what did you do then when you first went, okay, I'm not working? Like, what happened now?
I started setting up my own business. I worked with a guy called Richard Carpenter. He mentored me for free because of all the things that I'd done in lockdown. We wanted to give back. And then I found out I couldn't coach, so I started doing LinkedIn, and the rest is history. I did this workshop. I did 42 of these training courses, and every single person I speak to, oh, thanks for showing me this, but what do I write about? And that's why I've written a book with 101 ideas for content.
Oh,
Because people
incredible.
just don't know what to write. So they just open up the book randomly, any old page, and there's an idea for them.
Wow. It's do you know what? I'm not going to say your book is a toilet book, but it sounds like the book you read on a toilet because
Yeah,
you can read it,
absolutely.
open it, go, right,
Yeah,
I'm doing that today.
yeah. That was the whole idea. That was the whole idea. I didn't want a book that you sort of like, I'll read through this. It's something you just pick up. All right, don't know what to write about today. Pick up Ashley's book. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So Ashley, how do you see the next sort of like 5 years with you? Is there anything that you've got, any exciting things coming up on the horizon? Is there anything you really, I mean, you've done Couch to 5K now. What's next? London Marathon?
I don't know about that. I
Have you got
never
like
say
a goal or?
never say never. No, I don't. I don't have any goals. I was chatting to Jay about this because she was doing all this life's too short and stuff. I don't have a bucket list.
Oh yeah, we agreed on this. I don't have a bucket list because I live so much in the present.
Yeah.
Of course, I've got things I'd love to do, but they're not like the be all and end all for me.
Correct.
Yeah,
No, family for me is most important, and both of my daughters live virtually in the same street, so I
yeah,
see them regularly. See them absolutely regularly. So yeah, no, it's all good. So I want to do more public speaking. So
nice.
if you know anybody that wants a public speaker, I'd love to turn what I've just told you into a talk because
Mhm.
it's quite inspirational.
Yeah,
I've done it a couple of times, but I teach LinkedIn.
we
So
could transcript this and turn that into a book.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's why I wanted the copy of the recorded. But the other thing is I teach LinkedIn. So I do an awful lot of talks where I'm showing people what to do with LinkedIn, and I get people coming up afterwards. And I never looked at LinkedIn like that. But following BizFest, this lady that came up to me. She's the boss at this big company, and she turned around and said that she'd been there for 25 years. So she's never needed another job. So she's never needed LinkedIn. And she looked at me and she said, "This is incredible. I never thought of LinkedIn like that." And that's what I do with my talk. And then because I have the sideshow, my little stand, and I help people,
Yeah,
it's a great package if you're running if you're running an event. It's a great package. You get a speaker, but you also get a sideshow. So it's another reason for people to get benefit from coming to your exhibition. So I want to work on that a little bit more. I'd love to do more international gigs. I said earlier that I spoke in Canada last year. I'd love to do a few more international gigs and do a little bit more traveling. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and just work with amazing people. I get these people in. They really don't know what they're doing on LinkedIn. They're shy. They're timid. They're scared. But after a 6-week program with me, I work one-to-one now. They're doing amazing things on LinkedIn and loving it. I finished working with a client last week. She said, "Thank you, Ashley. I now love using LinkedIn." And
love
when you
that.
love something, it's so much easier, isn't it?
Yeah, and that that comes back to um, the whole thing with music, isn't it? When you love playing music, you do it. And if it's funny, I had a conversation with a PT recently who actually said to me, I said, "Oh, you're not on LinkedIn?" And he went, "Why would I be on LinkedIn?" And I went, "Oh, oh," I went, "Because everyone who's on LinkedIn uh, probably stops for lunch, looks at it, and thinks, God, I really wish I wasn't sat at my desk or blah, 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 blah." There are also a lot of entrepreneurs out there who probably got quite a lot of money, who probably want one-to-one. And he's a mindset coach. We're like fitness and mindset. And they need that direct, they need the personal shopper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He was
absolutely.
like, oh, never thought about it like that.
Mm.
So,
And this is the thing, people don't. I was chatting to an osteopath the other day, and I turned around to this guy and I said, "Look, 100% of people on LinkedIn have a skeleton."
no, some of them are spineless, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, but that's the thing. It's not like, oh, no one's going to buy back care from me. Yeah, but everybody on LinkedIn has a skeleton. And
Yeah.
if you just drop content regularly, and it doesn't have to be every day. If you go and have a look at my post today, because a lot of people turn around, "Oh, no one's seen this, no one's seen it," da, da, da. But they do see that you're showing up.
Yeah.
All right. They might not read it, they may not engage with it, they may not like it or comment on it. It really doesn't matter, but they're seeing it. As it's scrolling through, they see a picture of this guy in the yellow again. Yeah, and that's what counts.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really counts. If people are seeing you, oh my goodness, you're always over LinkedIn. Right, what have I written? Well, I don't know exactly what you've written, but they know that you're all over LinkedIn.
They know
And
you're
the
there.
thing is, right, the thing is, when they're talking to someone and someone says, I need some help with a PT, they're going to turn around and go, oh, you need to speak to, what's this guy's name?
Ashley, let's give him a little plug.
All right, so you need to go and speak to Ashley. He's the best PT ever. I keep seeing him on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So Ashley, if you're listening, give us a
Yeah.
shout.
Ashley Healy, body design. So obviously we know we can find you on LinkedIn. Are you on any other social media? Obviously people can just search in Ashley Leeds to find you.
Well, look, if you Google the 15-minute guy,
You find everything I found today.
I come up higher than Joe Wicks. So yeah, that's the thing. Because at one time he was doing 15-minute exercises, wasn't he? So yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so Google the 15-minute guy and you'll find me. But yeah, I am all over LinkedIn. So message me on LinkedIn. I do have a Facebook and what's the other one? TikTok, Instagram. But I don't use it.
Yeah.
I don't use it because what's the point? There's so many social medias. You could just waste your life doing social media. Yeah. What you need to do is find where your ideal audience is, okay? And just do that channel. All right, you don't need to do them all. I saw a webinar the other day from this lady. I'm sure she meant well, but she was saying you have to create content on 4 channels every day. Every day.
Wow.
And my mantra is once a week on LinkedIn, all right, is better than 95% of people on the platform. And she turned around and said, don't bother if you're only going to do 1 a week. And I would love to have a debate with her.
I wonder if she's the person who goes to Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Morrison's and Asda for her shopping.
Yeah, probably. Well, no, she can't do. She can't do. She must get it delivered because she hasn't got time because she's too busy going on all the platforms. And the thing is if we're doing all the platforms, each one we're doing poorly.
Yeah.
We're doing each one poorly. You know, if you go and see a musician, all right, you know, there's some musicians that can play every blinking instrument, but they're not as good as I'm trying to think of people now.
Well, it's like, you know, you get someone who plays every instrument, you know, they're probably not as good as Mark, you know.
I was going to say Mark Knopfler.
I was going to say someone like, I've just completely forgot his name now, Level 42 Mark. Playing slap bass.
Yeah, and or
Mark King.
Mark King, or not as good as Ginger Baker on drums, or do you know what I mean? You know, they're never going to be. You know, you're going to be all right at playing lots of instruments, but you're never going to be a virtuoso on any of them because you're trying to do them all. All right, but the guy that sits in his bedroom and practices guitar every single day, people will get to know him as Eric Clapton.
I think that what an amazing way to finish up. Ashley, thank you so much. So I think the answer there is stick to your instrument, right?
Absolutely.
And that wraps up today's episode of the Coffee, Chaos and Confidence podcast with me, Coach Casey. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you like and subscribe. It helps other listeners find the show. Also, go and check out the show notes to learn more about my incredible guests. Until next time, make sure you chase your dreams without limitations.